Hello everyone and welcome back to the 5 Red Lights. My name is Aaron and today we are previewing the Russian Grand Prix. So this is taken from my Twitch stream on Thursday morning. Come and join me on Twitch on a Thursday and Friday morning if you can, and if not then join in the fun when I upload the full episode on to YouTube. But for now, enjoy the video and I'll see you at the end.
1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and it's go, 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 go!
So, we are going to dive into Grand Prix mode, F1 2021. We're going to start with a little bit of a preview of the the Sochi Autodrome, the Russian Grand Prix. Apparently track difficulty is easy. I think they just mean easy on the tyres. Because tyre degradation is just not a thing around the Sochi Autodrome. It's smooth as a billiard table. For this quick race, we are going to dive into the appropriately designed Haas livery car, which is definitely not a Russian flag. And I think it would be only appropriate that we drive as Mick Schumacher, because we can't possibly drive as Mazepin because, well, it's Mazepin. And also, I watched a Schumacher documentary on Netflix, and I just feel that Mick is doing such a great job, all things considered. You know, his home life must be all over the place, and the fact that he can't talk to his dad about what he's achieving in Formula One, it's kind of heartbreaking, to be honest. So we're going to show Mick some love. And of course, we also had the breaking news this morning of Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher both being retained by Haas for 2022, which kind of wasn't really a surprise. The only way that was ever going to change was if Alfa Romeo decided they wanted to keep a Ferrari Junior in the second seat and said, can we have Mick Schumacher? It's going to be tough for Haas because they aren't seeing eye to eye as teammates. They don't really seem to be getting on. They're having collisions, and this isn't unheard of in the Haas F1 team, of the two drivers not necessarily seeing eye to eye on track and bumping wheels, because they had that with Magnussen and Grosjean and they couldn't really control it. So I don't have much faith in the Haas F1 team management to keep a lid on things here, and if they have a semi-competitive car, then there's going to be all sorts of fireworks, especially if they're fighting for points. Alright, Crofty, be quiet. Ahead of George Russell, I'm going to stick on my Sochi setup, and then I'm going to discuss my thoughts looking ahead to the race when the 5 red lights go out. Here we go, we're ready to start. 3 laps in Russia. It's go! Okay, so Sochi arrived in 2014 and it's leaving after 2022. We're heading to St. Petersburg for a race there in 2023. So we've only got, this is the penultimate race around the Sochi Autodrome, and I can't say it'll be hugely missed. I think this weekend's going to be quite interesting, because if Max does take that grid penalty, which we'll talk about later on, then it'll be fascinating to see how he fights through the field. You've got the conundrum for Mercedes of Bottas probably excelling around this track, and Hamilton is, it's not one of his weaker tracks, but it's certainly one where Bottas has a bit of an edge on him. So you're going to have quite an interesting debate there. Will they have to ask Bottas to move out of the way? How will he respond? And what can Perez do to get in the way of them? And what about the McLarens? I think they're going to be not perhaps as strong as they were in Monza, but they're going to be pretty handy because of these straights. They've got quite a slippery car as we try and take on Nicholas Latifi, and we bang wheels. Did we pick up any damage? Very luckily, we did not. Okay, let's regroup and attack again. So it's going to be an interesting weekend in terms of how it sets up the rest of the season, and perhaps not for what it's actually going to provide us in terms of on-track action. The thing is here, you can overtake, but the final sector, it's so technical, you don't really get close enough to attack down this first straight. If they were able to round off those final two corners into a sweeping right-hander, it might be a little bit easier, but then of course you've got the double chicane out of the at the start of the third sector, at the back end of the long back straight. So yeah, and they're kind of hamstrung by having all the buildings around it, and the concept of making it built around the old Winter Olympics park was kind of cool, but in actuality it's not worked out that well. It's just given this endless 90-degree corners, which kind of it just doesn't work for overtaking, does it? And this setup here with a 90-degree right, slow right-hander onto a long straight could work if the preceding corners allowed everyone to be close enough together. Even on 75% AI, we can't catch the midfield in a Haas. And those just walking away from the apex there of the left-hander. This Haas is just so bad. Bottas with the fastest lap. How many times will we see that this weekend? It's going to be an interesting one for Bottas, because he wants to show that he is still worthy of being in a top team, and also prove to his new employers that he is absolutely the right man to bring them forward. But then he does still have a job to do for Mercedes. I don't see him being the sort of person who's going to rock the boat. He understands what's going on. He's not throwing his toys out of the pram about leaving Mercedes. I think he probably realises he's had his chance. So, shame for Bottas, because his first season in 2017, where he took his maiden Grand Prix victory in this race, the Russian Grand Prix, having started third, he used the toe beautifully to end up in the lead ahead of the two Ferraris. But he looked pretty well set, but then 2018 didn't quite go right. 2019 he started well and then faded. 2020 started and faded even quicker. And then 2021 he's just never got going for all sorts of different reasons. So yeah, kind of time for Bottas to move on, you'd say. But he's going to be strong here. So where that leaves everybody else will be very interesting. Will Perez be able to get in the way and disrupt Mercedes' duopoly of the top two positions? Will McLaren be the thorn in Mercedes' side if Max is starting at the back? And just how far will Max get? Now, we started P19 in a Haas and we finished P15 inside a second behind a Ferrari and an AlphaTauri. Let's move on from this race in Sochi, dive on in with some predictions, but we're going to go through the teams from here, and we're going to start at the back with the home team in terms of their sponsor and their drivers. So we've got Mazepin and Schumacher. Now, of course, Mazepin isn't technically allowed to declare this as his home race because he's not allowed to race under the Russian flag, because they've been very naughty boys and girls over there. So Mazepin is probably going to crash into a wall at some point, considering the walls are fairly close, and he's going to be out-qualified by his teammate Mick Schumacher, and the pair of them are going to be at the back. So that is Haas. Alfa Romeo, well, they're going to find themselves kind of in front of the Haas cars. They'll go out in Q1. Kimi Raikkonen is back, but I don't know how fit he will be. Haven't missed 2 races, and when you reach his age you lose that sharpness very quickly and it's very difficult to get it back. So I can't see Kimi getting out of Q1. Giovinazzi, he's made the last 2 Q3s, but it's all gone to pot since there, finishing outside the points on both occasions. I don't see him getting into Q3 this weekend. It's a bit of a power track, Sochi. You need good straight line speed and you need the wing level to go through the corners. It's not like where you can compromise in Monza and be really low drag, which I think helped him there, and the boost of home support. So again, the best I can see Giovinazzi doing is maybe 14th, perhaps even 13th if he's a bit lucky. So Giovinazzi probably looking at a Q1 exit, at best a Q2 appearance. Let's check in with the Williams boys, George Russell and Nicholas Latifi. Latifi generally on the cusp of getting into Q2, but he's up against George Russell, who is a standout qualifier, and the Williams probably will be looking at best for 15th and 16th, maybe 14th with George pulling something special out of the bag. But that isn't a disservice to Nicky. He's been doing a great job. He was just outside the points in Monza, and if there's some carnage, and he's not involved in it of course, then there's a chance that he could pick up some points as well, as could George. But again, in the race I don't think they have the inherent pace in the car to trouble the points, so a mid-teens finish is probably what they're looking for. Let's have a look at AlphaTauri. Pierre Gasly could have had a sensational race in Monza, but ruined it in the sprint, damaging his wing, and then the suspension was all out of sync come race day. So not ideal for Pierre, but he'll definitely qualify in Q3 in the top 10, I think. Yuki Tsunoda, it's hard to know what to expect from him really, other than it's either going to be super fast or it's going to be in the wall, or both. Will he get out of Q1? He hasn't got out of Q1 in the last two races, I think. So, yeah, I mean, he's been retained for 2022. See if his confidence can grow and he can get a little bit more up to speed. It's probably a year too soon for him to be promoted, to be honest. But he's been retained, so maybe Red Bull have learned their lessons. But I can't see Yuki Tsunoda picking up any points at all this weekend. I can see Pierre Gasly finishing in the top 10 though, and picking up a few points for AlphaTauri. Let's head to France for the Alpine team. Fernando Alonso. Will he qualify in Q3? I'm going to say he will qualify 10th, and I will say he's going to finish in 9th or 10th position. And Esteban Ocon, he'll probably qualify just behind his teammate, maybe on the fringes of the top 10. And then, considering strategy is not really a huge deal in Sochi, and the Alpine doesn't quite have the straight line speed, he'll probably find himself under pressure for most of the race. Unfortunately, I can't see Esteban picking up any points. Ferrari, we'll head to Ferrari next, and then we'll head to Aston Martin. Well, they'll have some stability in the corners, but this is a power track as well, and the Ferrari power unit doesn't have huge top speed compared to its competitors. Charles is magic over one lap. I reckon he will qualify in Q3, maybe 6th or 7th. But Carlos I can see dropping out in Q2, or perhaps just maybe sitting on the back row of the top 10 with his hero Fernando Alonso. Will Ferrari pick up points? Yes, with both cars, but the minor points. Carlos has supreme race stealth. He just appears in the points, having been never shown on screen because he was always out of the points. And there's an odd replay of him overtaking someone. But Charles has just enough ability to keep cars behind him and do just enough to finish in the points. So I do think there will be a small double points finish for Ferrari. Aston Martin, well, can Seb trouble the top 10? Possibly. Lance, it's hard to say. I mean, their car is so sort of Jekyll and Hyde. They're up and down. We'll wait and see. But maybe one of them in the points, but I can't see it being a huge amount of points for them, and perhaps not even a Q3 appearance for either. So they'll be looking to come through from the midfield. McLaren, who picked up, of course, that magical 1-2 finish in Italy, with Daniel Ricciardo winning for McLaren, his first win since Monaco 2018. Boy, did he deserve it. Boy, did he earn it. And could this be the moment where the balance tips back in his favour? He has command of the car and he becomes a force again. I think we're going to see Daniel in Q3 radiating with confidence. The smile is going to be back and he's going to be pushing his teammate Lando Norris all the way. Now, I think Lando is going to start on one of the front two rows. Whether that's by virtue of Verstappen's penalty dropping him back to behind Norris or even to last, but Lando's going to be there either on merit or by a little bit of good fortune, and I think Ricciardo is going to qualify in the top 6 as well. McLaren will probably be fairly strong. It's pretty good through the corners, it's slippery down the straights, and it's got an excellent power unit in the back of it, at least the second best, possibly level equal first with the Honda power unit. So McLaren are in a good position this weekend. Red Bull, this on paper doesn't look like a Red Bull circuit because it's got some long medium speed corners. They'll have downforce, but will they have enough straight line speed? The Honda power unit's good, but Max Verstappen, of course, has this 3-place grid drop, and possibly he will be taking the engine penalty, which I'll discuss as we go through the practice programs on the My Team career save. Where will Max qualify? Hard to know, hard to suggest, because who knows what they're going to do. Will they just put the new power unit in, do a lap in Q1 and then just qualify and just end up last anyway? Or will they qualify him up the front and then have him drop back? That's needless extra miles on an engine that they're hoping to take to the end of the year. So yeah, it's hard to say. So it all kind of boils down to what this man, Sergio Perez, can do. His qualifying performances recently haven't been stellar, but he needs to pull something out of the bag in Russia, otherwise Mercedes are going to lock out the front row. He's not going to be there to do anything about it, and it's going to be McLaren or even an Alpha Tauri of Gasly or Leclerc's Ferrari who are there to pounce and pick up the pieces. Sergio's got excellent racecraft, but it is both easy and very difficult to overtake in Sochi. Will he be able to make enough ground? And if he starts behind a McLaren or a Ferrari or an Alpha Tauri, then he's not going to catch the Mercedes. He needs to be starting third, because then he can slipstream down to turn 1 and at least get in between the two Mercedes and make it difficult for them. But then again, Mercedes will be able to use the 2 cars against the 1. So it does all hinge on Sergio Perez this weekend for Red Bull, depending on what they do with Verstappen. If they take the grid penalty, then it's all on Perez. If they don't, then Verstappen still has a chance of managing his points loss to Hamilton, or potential points loss. Talking of Lewis Hamilton and the world champions, they're going to win the race. They're going to win the race. Which one will it be? It's going to be Lewis Hamilton, because Bottas will have to move over, or Bottas will just be behind Hamilton anyway, which is completely conceivable. Remember, Hamilton did qualify on pole position there last year and maybe would have won the race had he not done his practice starts in the wrong place. So I'm sure Mercedes will be very hot on that, making sure they do their practice starts in the correct places and they keep themselves squeaky clean all the way through. So let's do a little bit more of a specific predictions that we've run through each driver in each team. I've already told you who I think is going to win the race. Who do I think is going to be on pole position? This man, Valtteri Bottas. He's going to be on pole, and alongside him on the front row is going to be his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Bottas has a bit of a knack around the Sochi Autodrome, and I think he's going to put it to good use, because he qualified fastest in Monza, then won the sprint and started from the back with the engine penalty, and ended up then on the podium. So he's got some good form behind him, and this is a track that he likes and goes well at. Third on the grid, I'm going for Lando Norris. Lando has been in the form of his life. coming off the back of his best ever result, second in Monza, and I think he's going to qualify just ahead of his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. How Ricciardo fares will depend on obviously how well he's getting on with the car, but I think a bit more confidence in the car will, after the win from Monza, will do him the world of good, and you can, like I said, qualify in the top 6 at least, and possibly there'll be Gasly in 4th or Perez, but I can't really see Perez getting ahead of Norris, and that's going to be a problem for Red Bull. Moving on to the race, my race winner is Lewis Hamilton, and then in second place I'm going to go for Lando Norris, because if he's starting third by my predictions, then he has a strong chance of either leading or at least getting in between the Mercedes, which is what Perez needs to do. He needs to get into third and get in between the Mercedes and mess them up a little bit. Lando has the car to stay ahead, because the Mercedes probably will carry a little bit more wings, so they'll be close enough through the corners, but then the sequence of final corners and then the combination of McLaren being good on the straights and the distance you then fall behind because of the dirty air will hinder the Mercedes that is in third to get past. They might strategize their way through, so it's conceivable that Lando could end up third, depending on what's happening with Verstappen as well, of course. A lot of it does hinge on what Verstappen is doing, so we'll wait and see on that. But Lando Norris is my tip for second place, and Valtteri Bottas will end up in third. Now, a little bold prediction. Let's go with... Now, usually the bold prediction is Williams get points, but Williams have scored points in 3 of the last 4 races. So I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Lance Stroll to finish ahead of Sebastian Vettel in the race. Now, of course, if Seb DNFs or whatever, then that's an easy win. But I'm going to go for Lance Stroll to finish ahead of his teammate in the classification on race day. And there you have my predictions for the Russian Grand Prix.
So there you have my predictions for the Russian Grand Prix. Will Valtteri Bottas have to move over for Lewis Hamilton? Will Lewis be on form? How will Max Verstappen fare? Let me know in the comments. Will he take that all-important grid drop for the new power unit, considering he does already have the 3-place grid penalty for the collision with Hamilton in Monza? That'll do for today. My name is Aaron. This has been the 5 Red Lights, and when the 5 Red Lights go out, I will see you next time. Bye for now.